discussion too.
There you go, Mike.
All right, thanks, Bill. Little Miss Sunshine. It's an American movie that came out in 2006. How many of you have not seen this? Everybody's seen it. Wow.
I don't know if I'd seen the whole thing, but I saw parts.
All right, Chris Knott and King Arthur, maybe. Okay, I was just curious because I always thought this was a great movie, and because Alan Arkin died not too long ago, that's why I decided to make this a pick. It was directed by, I'm going to take my glasses off for this. It was directed by Jonathan Dayton and Valerie Faris, who were commercial and video production directors. They had never done a Hollywood movie before. It was written by Michael Arndt, who was a first-time screenwriter, and he got $250,000 for writing this screenplay. It stars Steve Carell, who one of the original producers actually wanted Bill Murray for that role as Uncle Frank. Stars Toni Collette, who is an Australian actress who has a great career in comedy and horror. So that kind of fits here. Greg Kinnear, who you're all probably familiar with. Paul Dano, who played Brother Dwayne, who had his self-imposed whatever you call that, where he just
vow of silence.
Vow of silence. Thank you, Jeff. Where he decided to do that while he was preparing to join the Air Force Academy.
Same as Mahoney.
Oh,
is it same as Mahoney?
Same as Mahoney.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then Alan Arkin, who died in June of 2023 at the age of 89, and Abigail Breslin, who was Olive in the movie. She got the part when she was 6, and then the movie was actually filmed when she was 9, and it came out when she was 10. It won 2 Oscars at the 79th Oscars. One was Best Original Screenplay for Arndt, and the other was Best Supporting Actor for Alan Arkin, and that was his only Oscar in his seven-decade career of television, stage, and movies. But he did win. There were also a couple of other nominations for Best Picture and for Best Supporting Actress for Abigail. It had an $8 million budget, which is not much when you think about movies these days. And it made $101 million worldwide. It made about 60 million in North America, and it made about 41 million internationally to give it the 101 million that it came up with. The plot is basically that the whole family goes on a road trip. Little Olive gets invited to appear at a pageant that she didn't know that she was going to get to go to. They're a little short on money, and they can't leave Uncle Frank at home because he's attempted suicide. So the whole family climbs into the VW bus, that's the family car, and they drive from Albuquerque to Redondo Beach, California. They used the VW bus because it was great to film in. The person who was the director of the photography set up like 3 different buses so that he could use them inside and out. I think they used 5 altogether. 2 were pulled on trailers. But also the screenwriter, his family did that. They had a Volkswagen and it broke down on trips when they went cross country, and all the things that happened to the Volkswagen happened to him in his real life. It's considered a tragic comedy, and Bob Walsh taught us a long time ago that it's a tragedy when someone dies, and so that's why it became a tragedy. It's also known as a dramedy, a drama and comedy, but mostly it's about a dysfunctional family that somehow seems to work together when it's all said and done. And Gary lost his lights. Are you still on, Gary?
I have a motion detector light here, so if I sit still, it goes out.
Well, all right. Don't be doing don't be doing the musical hands, okay? I thought we were losing you. So I open it up to you guys for discussion. What do you think about this place and about this movie?
The budget was $8 million.
$8 million, yeah.
That Steve Carell probably gets that per movie now.
Oh, at least. Yeah. Actually, they were one of the producers early on. It changed because they went back and forth with some different companies. didn't want Carell at all because he was unknown at the time. And when they were shooting this in 2005, he was on
The Daily Show.
The Daily Show every day, right? And that's all he was known for at the time. But he went on, and then he met with the directors, and they just thought even though he didn't have this background everybody was looking for, they thought he understood the script better than everybody else, and they thought he was wonderful. And they said, "No, we've got to have this guy." So they kept. But there you go.
It was a good pick.
I thought it was really entertaining. I had a good time watching it, and I thought all the characters and their little quirks and stuff were really interesting. You know, the motivational speaker guy, and then the guy who won't talk, and you know, it was just really fun.
The picture that's behind you, Jeff, I think Greg Kinnear says while they're waiting to talk to the police after or the security guard at the pageant, he says, "Everybody act normal." So that's one of the taglines to the movie. Mine is "Where is Olive?" which is another tagline that's been used for the movie, some of the posters and stuff.
Can you guys hear me now?
Hey,
Yeah.
welcome back. We thought maybe you were going to be the Dwayne there and do everything on the write it down on the pad for us.
Oh, it would have fit. It would have fit. Yeah, I thought it was a quirky movie. You know, Alan Arkin obviously had a strong role. I think Greg Kinnear's role was interesting. To me, the little girl's role was pretty interesting, and Steve Carell's as well. I'm not sure I would have picked this movie. It seemed a little too happy at the end, I guess, but it was kinky enough and weird enough that it held my attention. So you know, and I guess this was an independent production that got picked up after it did well at some film festivals. So yeah, you know, it was distinctive.
Yeah, just FYI, it did have an R rating, and that was mostly because of Alan Arkin's language. And with little Olive in the van while they were doing that, they made sure she had her headphones on all the time so she wouldn't hear everything that he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Also, and I didn't know this until I actually researched it. Olive wore a small fat suit so that she would look a little plump. She didn't look like that actually, but they needed that for the movie, and there were a lot of talk about her comparing herself to the skinny little girls at the pageant and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I read that today as well. I didn't know that, but it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just go ahead and fulfill everybody's expectations and tell you that I love this movie because every character changes from where they start, and they all go through some sort of change, except Olive. Olive is the lighthouse on the shore, and all the boats are changing course, but they all end up in the same place in support of Olive. But you know, the kid who won't talk, you know, all she does is have to put a head on his shoulder, and he changes, and now he's in her corner. And Carell, who's a master of the most depressing writer in history. He's, you know, and his whole world has come down on him until he's tried to commit suicide, is the one who jumps out of the van and races across the parking lot to make sure, you know, Olive. So they all change in support of Olive. They're all dysfunctional in their own ways, but every one of the characters changes into something different to get in her corner. So because of, you know, you've heard me enough talk about those heroes' journeys that to me make a movie memorable. Every person in this movie goes through some sort of change, and then when Alan Arkin is in their backseat telling everybody, "Go for it," and he snorts himself to death. So I think it's a masterpiece.
What a incredible performance by that young girl, though. At that age, that was inspiring. Really, I mean, I'm surprised she didn't. Was she nom? Is there an age?
She was nominated as
a
a best supporting actress.
Was she? Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know who beat her, but it's a good star turn for her. Anytime you get a 9-year-old to do a strip act, that's an accomplishment.
And she didn't know that's what she was doing.
No.
All she knew is what Grandpa was teaching her.
Right.
Some of those scenes where they were having to push the van and jump in, I mean, unless there was some incredible trick photography going on, it looked like they were genuinely risking their life and limb to jump in there. I could be wrong, but that didn't look
and it was very organized. As the movie progressed, you saw that there was a specific order. Olive in first, then the wife, then Carell, then the son. I mean, it was all very coordinated. They had a game plan.
I also read where when they cast Olive, she was this was shot when she was 9, but she was cast when she was 7.
Well, kind of along with that, I read that it was like a 5-year process to put this film together, that it got delayed quite a bit. So that didn't surprise me.
You mean editing it?
No, I think it just,
Probably just getting the financing.
Getting the money. Yeah, getting the money. Somebody picked it up at the Sundance Film Festival, and then they wanted a bunch of different things done, and the screenwriter got fired. And then one of the original producers bought it back from the original company, and then the screenwriter got hired back again. And so there was a lot of jostling around until and then that producer who believed in it, he put up the $8 million himself. There also was kind of a quandary over, there were 5 producers who touched this movie, but the Academy Awards only allows 3. So when it was coming up for Best Picture, there was some talk about who's going to be there and who's not.
I read that and said only 3 of you are going to be able to come on stage if it happens to win. But if you watch the Academy Awards, when the Best Picture is announced, 40 people show up on stage.
I know.
I think when they said, we're going to have a limit of 3 people on stage for Best Picture, Hollywood came back and said, no, we're not. We're not doing that. And so, but if unfortunately, win, so we never got to see how many people were going to go on stage. But I guess they told them we're going to have 3 statues. You're going to have to figure it out.
Did anybody think about the JonBenet tragedy when they were showing the beauty pageant there at the end? I mean,
that crossed my mind. Yeah,
man.
how many years are between those 2 incidences, between the movie and JonBenet?
That's a good question. I think it was 10.
I think it's a lot less than 10. I think it's more like 5 or less than that.
It really put those pageants in a terrible light.
I have a device here that will look that up for us.
There was a classic Nurse Ratched character in there for sure too. Oh man. There was a scene where she was railing, and the girl who played Chloe in 24 was standing behind her. She was she's the one who went and retrieved.
Yeah. It was the stage manager. Yeah.
Stage manager. Yeah. And she was grinning like a cat until the woman turned around to look at her. And she's like, suddenly she looked sullen. And it was great trying to spot the different people too. There were 2 Breaking Bad people in there. The guy that was the cop was the brother-in-law cop in Breaking Bad. And then
Gene Rice or something like that.
Cranston.
Yeah.
Brian Cranston, the publicist or whatever on the book deal.
Right.
It was like spotting stars before they really made it big. It was kind of fun that way. And they really did a great job of assembling a cast, I thought, that could carry these roles through their appropriate trajectory, Gary. I was going to ask you, as you're talking about the hero, the journey of the hero, have you listened to or read Joseph Campbell's stuff about the hero?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty right along with that. That's kind of guides a lot of this stuff.
By the way, John Bonet died in December of '96, so this was 10 years after.
And the
Pete, it
girls
did
that
cross
were
my
in the,
mind that
the girl, go ahead.
no,
The
I'm
girls
just
who were
saying-
in them, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Wicker. Finish it.
I was just going to say that Pete asked, did the John Bonet thing cross my mind? And it did. You know, all these girls are dolled up. That's immediately what I thought of. Yeah.
I was going to say the girls who are playing the pageant girls are really pageant girls. And the parents were not really happy about how they looked. They thought it was kind of overdone. They said,
Really?
well, they said they complained that, you know, giving them the spray tans and some of the other things that we saw quick glimpses of to cement what was going on in our minds is not the way young beauty pageants are actually done. But they didn't complain too much because nobody wanted out of the movie and nobody sued them or anything. But yeah, they thought it was a little over the top. Of course, you know, in Hollywood, you get to have some leeway, some poetic license to create things that give you the real feel, even though they may not be real. So
I don't know if anybody else on this call has a granddaughter who's competed in dance competitions, but sometimes those dance competitions for little girls, the only thing that's missing is a pole. The dance moves and the dance costumes are over the top. You know, it was very uncomfortable sometimes going to those competitions, because then I was like, they're all John Bonet and they've all got dance moves to go with it.
Yeah, I used to know a family that had two daughters in these child beauty pageants, and you know, the pictures I saw when they would, you know, show the pictures out from, you know, this contest or another, it didn't look too far off from the movie at all.
Yeah.
well, I've got two daughters, and one of them was the Chilhowie Fair Queen of 1991. So she did her share of the queen contest.
I think Joan was second runner-up in like Miss Lake County back in 1970 something. There were only 3 contestants, so but she clings to the idea that she was second runner-up.
Good for her.
Yeah.
You know, this is recorded, right?
She needed more spray tan.
More cowbell.
Chris, what did you think? You haven't had a chance to really talk.
At first, I watched it twice. The first time I watched it, I found it very disturbing. And I guess because of all the dysfunction in the family, and I thought, oh, wow, this is like crazy. Then I watched it again last night, and I had much more appreciation for it, and the fact that all of the family could come together at the end in support of this little darling that was doing her best to get out there and win her dream to become, you know, the winner of the pageant. So, and I was trying to count how many times I saw the color yellow show up in the movie too. So
How many?
thing. But yeah, so I ended up liking it very much.
You think there was some significance to yellow in the movie? Some thematic
Yes.
reason?
Yes, sunshine.
Ah.
Yeah, there's a thing on it that I read that has now escapes me, but yeah, there was some use of the color yellow on purpose.
As I was watching it, one of the thoughts across my mind is, would it resonate today like it did 17 years ago? And to me, it's a metaphor for how much we need that more even now than then, with, you know, such a divided society, and trying to find some common ground and get behind a 9-year-old in a pageant, and everybody puts aside their own, crazy phobias, at least for a while. I thought it's a dose of medicine I think we could use now.
When she put her head on his shoulder when he went ballistic, when he found out he was colorblind, that to me that was one of the highlights of the movie for me.
Yeah. And there's
They did have a one character in it that was I don't know, in a sleeveless denim jacket, kind of a biker looking guy that sort of appealed to that outreach to everybody. Let's get along.
But he started by taking his earbuds out and saying to Carell or Kinnear or whoever it was, "Oh, you've never been to one of these before," and then put his earbuds
Right back in.
"You're not part of this. You have no business being here. I'm shutting you out." And then at the end, he ended up being one of the biggest cheerleaders, along with the guy running the audio. So he had, at least in my mind, he had some sort of change of heart, or maybe he was that, came from that point of view all the time. But I thought that was a nice touch.
So
I wondered if he had a daughter that was in the pageant, but no one was pointed out, or does he just kind of like show up at these pageants? And he's kind of weird.
Pageant pervert.
There you go. Yeah.
So has anybody, Gary was saying, that we needed more of this. I guess he was talking about family dynamic or something. But has anybody ever lived in that kind of family dynamic where you have like your dad living with you and your brother, and pretty mixed up household, really.
My brother and I had a car we had to push downhill a few times to get it to start.
Pop the clutch and go.
No reverse.
But my daughter and her family are getting ready to move back into our house. Does that count?
Yeah. That would start it.
Why is that?
They had somebody come by and solicit them to sell their house, and they decided to do it, but they didn't have any place to go after that. So they're going to come here.
Have you started?
The Alan Arkin guy.
Have you started snorting cocaine yet?
It's going to be more
Not
like
regular.
All in the Family.
Yeah, probably.
We'll circle around and bring this question back in a few months, Jeff.
Yes, I think there will be time to do that, just based on how the housing market is right now.
Yeah.
Plus, you can get really good drugs being a doctor.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
What'd you think, Matson? You haven't said much.
Yeah.
I think it was, I thought of Pete a lot, and I thought it was charming. I thought it was just technically very proficient. I just thought it was a little too set up for laughs. I mean, it seemed more to me like a comedy on TV or something. I mean, I didn't see it as a classic movie. That's great. I mean, I laughed when I was supposed to laugh, and I cried when I was supposed to cry, and all that. But
if you had paid $12.50 to see it in a theater, would you have felt you got your money's worth?
Then I would have cried when I. I just thought it was technically proficient, but it got all the required moves out of it, but I didn't think it was anything that.
A classic or anything.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is it was no big year, is what you're saying.
Look, I'm trying to avoid that, even that whole phrase.
I told Mahoney at the golf tournament Friday, I go, I've got a new verb now. I was moonstruck.
It happens to everybody.
Chris? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was saying in support of Pete, I liked The Big Ear, but then I love birds, so
Me
I
too.
was okay with it.
I like that Rashida Jones clip you attached. Conan O'Brien.
Yeah, and by the way, she is not sister to Nora. I found out.
What's
She is
that?
not Nora's sister. I
Ah.
found out.
Oh.
Hmm.
But she is Robin.
Rashida is not
Robin.
Nora Jones' sister. They're not related, but yeah, Nora is to Ravi, but Rashida and Nora are not related, so.
Glad we cleared that up. Yeah.
I thought The Big Year was nice. I thought it was all right.
Charming.
And I loved your presentation of it, when you spoke about it. I thought that was great.
Would you like
Made me
to
like
guess?
it even more.
I thought somebody would ask what those 3 review quotes, what movies those were from. Those of you that
You just made them
bothered to
up.
read my synopsis there.
Do tell.
You
What,
tell,
what were they from?
The first one was The Godfather. The second one was Ben-Hur.
Okay.
And the third, I forgot. Give me a second. But Ben-Hur was the second. Damn it. I was going to write those down. I forgot. I'll think of it here in a minute.
like the movie, it's memorable.
Well, it was
Oh,
charming.
2001: A Space Odyssey. That was the
There you
third.
go.
I
hated that
think
movie.
some of our actors in this movie, it's an interesting cast. I kind of agree with what Mike Matson's saying about the movie and all that not being a classic, but the cast was fantastic. I mean, Steve Carell, he was like, at the time, I would go with my son to see him in all these zany movies, Anchorman, and I thought, man, this guy, he's like one of the best comedians coming up now, in all the movies he was in and everything. But then he kind of went on this track to be more than just a comedian. And this might have been the first movie where he did that. And now he's pretty much a mainstream actor. I mean, you think of Steve Carell, you don't think of comedy. I mean, I guess The Office kind of set him into that.
Yeah. Mhm.
You
By the
know,
way-
I was thinking about this a little bit ago, but this, in a way, this was a quirky movie, kind of like Napoleon Dynamite, in a
Yeah.
quirky sort of way. Mr. Matson, did you see that? Napoleon Dynamite?
Tina, you bitch. Yes.
What'd you think of that? Or would you put that in the same category as this movie?
No, I
or-
loved it. It seemed way more offbeat and quirky.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's way more quirky.
What was it? Vote for Rico? Who was?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it Rico?
And his
Uh,
uncle who plays football out with the van in the field.
And they both use the same kind of formula at the end, when Napoleon Dynamite comes out and does his big dance.
Yeah.
They do sort of the same thing here.
So
The
When did The
cast
Office-
did win a Screen Actors Guild Award for Best Ensemble Cast. Just gonna throw that out there.
It was Pedro, by the way, Mike. Vote for Pedro.
Yeah.
Pedro. When did the debut or The Office debut? Was it after this movie?
Probably 2005.
It was
In
about the same
England or
time.
here?
Oh.
I'm
So
not sure.
Before
You
that,
look it up on your magic thing there.
the Anchorman.
he was an Anchorman?
Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
weatherman.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. No.
Yeah, no, Steve Carell was the weather guy.
2005.
The Office.
Yeah.
So he was already on the scene, but only as a
No.
sitcom actor.
No.
No?
Oh, sorry. I was talking to my cat. You're telling him no. Sorry.
Mute the cat.
No.
Come on,
Well,
this is the
Wait, it
podcast
says
we
right
got
here.
on here.
Although Carell was, he got this role, long before the film came out in 2006.
Okay.
2002, they started casting people. So he wasn't famous for that to them yet, anyway.
But he has taken on a lot more dramatic stuff, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Robin Williams started as one thing and then started taking on dramatic stuff and made that transition pretty well. But I think he's probably 10 million a movie box office material by now. Haven't seen him in anything lately.
He was in that Apple series. Was it broadcast news or
The morning show.
The morning show. Yeah.
Yeah.
He also did
There
was a short miniseries called Space
Cadets or something. Yeah. U.S. Space Force.
Space Force. Right.
Yeah.
That didn't last but 4 or 5.
I was gonna say that they gave that one up, didn't they?
I watched one last year where he was a psychiatrist that was kidnapped by a killer.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Pretty good.
What was that?
That was a movie, right, or a series?
That was a series.
Oh,
The guy kept him in his basement.
Yeah. And he's the main villain in Despicable Me. There's been several Despicable Me's, so I think he makes a good 10 million in that, because those kind of shows sell more than you think, you know.
That's just voice acting, right?
Mm-hmm.
well, I thought the script, I guess contrary to Mattson's view, I thought the script was very well written, and all the character development, you know, and the payoff at the end might have been predictable, but I thought it was done proficiently.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
It's another movie that uses a vehicular trip as the backdrop to things, like like The Last Detail and those other things where they go on a trip, and it's analogous to the trip that the characters are taking with their development. So it's a great no pun intended. It's a great vehicle for writing.
Especially,
I guess
the vehicle doesn't work unless everybody in the vehicle gets out and pushes.
Right.
I mean, that's
It'll
a
work together.
metaphor on its own.
I think Greg Kinnear was quoted as saying it was a thinking man's European or National Lampoon's vacation. That's what he called it. Had a little more thought to it or something.
Have you guys liked Greg Kinnear's acting over the years? I mean, I think I do. I think I do. He's not been in much lately.
What has he been in? Because I was trying to remember the other day.
One
He's in a
movie
movie
that was kind
Nicholson.
of I like. He played Robert Crane, the actor that was on Hogan's Heroes. He played him, and the movie was about the seedy belly underside of Robert Crane, the real guy. He was into some stuff, and he played him.
He was in the movie. He was the neighbor across the hall from Jack Nicholson in, what was that called? As Good as It Gets, maybe? Is that what it was?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. That was a long time ago.
He was also in a movie where, and I can't remember the name of it, but he invented intermittent wipers for a car, and ended up suing the car manufacturers who took it away from him, and he fought it every step of the way and wouldn't give up. And it was one of those he just won't give it up kind of things. But
Did the movie have him win in the end?
yes, because it was based on a true story. He did win.
When you're in Fort Lauderdale, there are canals that make up, you know, it's very watery place, and you can get on water taxis and they will, you know, take you through, and they do a play-by-play of the different, you know, landmarks and the homes of people. The guy who did Waste Management and then Blockbuster, he's got a home on one of the canals. But they stop in front of this house and tell you that the guy that lived there invented the intermittent windshield wiper, and General Motors said, that's ours. And he said, no, I did that on my own. That's mine. And so he took General Motors to court. And the punchline is, at the end of the thing, the court awarded him 41 cents for every intermittent windshield wiper ever installed from that day forward. So
Wow.
he became a multi-millionaire 41 cents at a time. And his house is on a knoll there and overlooking the water in Fort Lauderdale.
The other guy's Wayne Huizenga.
Yeah, Huizenga lives there. Yeah. And Dick
He was,
Pendleton.
he was
So
also
three
in
famous
You've Got
people.
Mail.
Dick Pendleton.
What'd you say,
There you
Chris?
go.
He was also in You've Got Mail with Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks.
Wayne
He
Huizenga?
was- What?
Greg.
Just being a smart ass.
Ignore him. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you could put Toni Collette and Paul Dano in the same categories. Their careers have been pretty exceptional, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dano was in something with Daniel Day-Lewis, but I forget what it was.
There Will Be Blood.
I don't think he was in that, but it was something else Lewis did.
I know. I think he was in There Will Be Blood.
Oh, okay.
I think. I'll look.
Bill, don't make us do this. Don't. By the
But I
way,
read-
Autofocus is the movie about Robert Crane. 2002.
I read
Well,
that Abigail. Go ahead.
Autofocus.
Autofocus, yeah.
I read
I
that
remember-
Abigail Breslin was involved in a bunch of horror movies later on in her career, which is kind of interesting. Wouldn't have really picked her out for that.
By the way, I had a picture of her and I sent it to everybody so that
I saw that. Yeah.
see what she looked like then and now. She's about 22 years old now, and she has quite a filmography that she's racked up over the years.
So she was 9 when they filmed it.
Yes,
So she's 26 now,
something like that. Yeah.
17 years ago.
Wow.
I should probably say something about the healthcare people in this movie. They were assholes.
Oh,
The woman
lady-
that wanted him to fill
Yeah.
out all the forms for the dead
Yeah.
body, and then the doctor who came and
Mhm.
said, "Hey," yelled for the back for the person. Just obnoxious. Like, well, he's dead. Sorry.
For the grief liaison.
Yeah.
You're not the only
Jesus.
person that had somebody die today.
Get in line.
Yeah, that was a little whoa. A little rude.
So we haven't seen him throw anybody up on the roof of the car since Imaging Coco and but yeah, he was in There Will Be Blood, 2007.
Oh, okay.
He played the kind of the foil to Daniel Day-Lewis, if I remember right.
But what other movie involves driving around with a dead person in the car? I know Weekend at Bernie's does.
Vacation.
Does National Lampoon Vacation? Do they put a dog
Yeah.
on the
Yeah,
roof? or
yeah,
something?
they've got.
Grandmother or something.
She's on
Yeah,
top.
they got the grandmother on top and the dog is lashed to the bumper.
Until it's just a
Grandmother, too.
rope.
So that's not an original idea.
No,
But the
I
idea
don't know
of-
which came first.
Yeah, the idea that porn would be a deterrent, so that the body
was great.
Yeah,
It's great.
I'll Google it.
All right, Gary, I think we're running out of time. Your pick is next week.
all right. We're gonna watch The Fifth Element, starring Bruce Willis,
Awesome.
and all I can tell you tonight is it was a U.S. box office below expectations movie, but internationally it was a blockbuster, and you can watch it. And I could never figure out if it was a spoof or an honest treatment. You'll have to decide for yourselves. But it's got a little bit of Indiana Jones and Star Wars. Anyway, I don't want to tell you any more than that. The Fifth Element. Has anybody seen The Fifth?
That's Yeah, it's got some
Yeah.
sci-fi in it.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I saw it years and years ago.
You seen it, Bill?
Yeah.
You mind watching it again?
I don't remember much about it though.
Okay.
Orange hair.
I've never seen it, but
Yeah, me either.
have you seen it since? Hey, you've not seen
No.
it? Okay.
It's been a while.
Haven't seen it.
When did it come out?
I think 97. So it's last century.
Is it a talkie?
Yes, and in color.
Woohoo.
Good one.
And the last thing I want to throw in about when we're talking about Abigail is her first movie role. She was 5 years old and she was in the movie Signs, and she played Mel Gibson's daughter. So when you're talking about her in horror movies, that's where she got started.
Has anybody else seen anything? Barbie,
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, The Blue Beetle.
Saw Oppenheimer.
What did you think?
I thought it was a great drama. And, I think everybody went to it expecting to see a big bomb go off. And I guess in a sense it did, but I thought the interaction and again, focusing on people's faces to make the story, there were great faces in that. And they really just did great. I thought Robert Downey Jr. was he did a great portrayal of a sinister guy. And 3 hours went by pretty quickly.
Yeah. I thought Robert Downey Jr. was the centerpiece, the best performance of the movie. He did a great job. And maybe it's because I expect him to be one thing and he was totally different.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if anybody's a fan of what's the main character's name? Oppenheimer.
Robert.
Yeah.
I don't know who the actor is.
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, Cillian Murphy. What's the name of his show, Pete?
Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, Peaky Blinders.
Peaky. Yeah.
He is really fantastic in that series. That's a really great series, I think. About 1900s England gangsters. But I was really interested to see his character in Oppenheimer, just based on that.
I didn't realize until later that Gary Oldman was Truman. Yeah, he did a really good job of that. Man, classic politician.
You will see him in The Fifth Element.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's Zorg.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And who is he in Oppenheimer? I haven't seen it yet.
Truman.
Okay.
I mean, I recognized him right away when he came up, and I'm going, I don't know if this guy can play our Truman or not, But what he didn't have that long of a role in there, but what he said was impactful.
Yeah.
It was pretty impactful, and made me wonder if those lines had any truth to them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say what his lines were for people who haven't seen it, but it's kind of like, when you think of bombing, the who do you blame? I mean,
is it responsibility or credit?
Yeah, is there anybody to blame? Kind of.
My guess, Bill, is that they had a lot of time in the White House press room to figure out what that line was. It was uttered in the Oval Office, so you're never going to know really what went on.
I thought there were recordings of everything in the Oval Office. Did that come later? That came later. Well.
Yep.
The recorder is not very reliable either.
Big gaps.
So I went to the theater yesterday and saw a movie. It's getting to be kind of slim pickings, after you've seen Oppenheimer and Barbie. So then what do you go see? So we picked this movie called Jules. Has anybody heard of it? And
No.
Heard that it's just out.
Yeah, it's got Ben Kingsley in it, and it's a movie about an alien that lands in. He's an old man, of course. Ben Kingsley's an old man, but he plays an aging man, and this alien lands in his backyard, and it's about that, but it's about aging. It was okay. I mean, it was okay movie. to see. And if you're a fan of Ben Kingsley, you will probably like that movie. And I am. I mean, I'm a fan of his, so I didn't feel like we wasted too much money.
Has anybody seen the movie 65 on Netflix?
No.
No? Okay.
What's
I
that
haven't
about?
either.
What's it
But I
about?
read some very good reviews on it. So I'm trying to think of the actor that's in it. What was the movie American Divorce? Was that what it was called? Shoot.
I
Sorry.
started watching Suits also on Netflix, I think. Is anybody watching that?
I know
Watched
that's
it when it was
Not
on.
yet.
Is it new?
Suits?
no, they've just re-released it and it's got a huge new following.
Ah,
Really? You mean it was released a while ago?
Oh yeah, that's
yeah, it's an old series.
probably
Oh,
10 or 12 years old.
I haven't seen it, but my niece says it's great, and I want to check it out.
They got no writers. They got to put something out there.
That's
Yeah, things are going to get slim, I think.
Yeah, they are.
Give me a chance to catch up.
Well, that's
I
true.
just got around to seeing Indiana Jones, so I'm way behind. But it was
So
good.
are
The
are
new
the
one?
studios and anybody engaging AI to start creating stuff, or do they not dare do that?
I think that's the issue.
Yeah.
Right, I understand, but I don't know if anybody's actually doing it to tell the writers, look, suck it up. I hope not.
One of the things that is
No, I think that
occurring
would. Go ahead.
is some of the actors who also are around the writing table, since they can't write, who have done stand-up comedy in the past, are going on tour. So right now, the number of headliners stopped. A member of the current Saturday Night Live cast came through Springfield 2 weeks ago. John Lovitz came through Springfield a couple weeks ago. People
Wow.
that normally would be sitting somewhere in California writing scripts and doing pilots are on the road. So if you like stand-up comedy, some of the acts have never been better. The selection has never been better. In fact, we had,
Interesting.
trying to remember a past, we had Hannibal Buress here at the same time. A member of a past cast of Saturday Night Live was here. The guy who runs the comedy club here double booked himself, and he had to put one guy at his comedy club and another one at the Landers Theater, a little theater here. So they're out there making money. They're just not making it as writers and actors. They're making it in stand-up.
Rob Schneider's coming through to one of the casinos.
He's been here, yeah.
So do these guys also just continue to write but don't release anything to anybody? I would think so.
I don't know. I don't know that they can write.
Oh,
They have to keep it to themselves, I think.
Yeah.
yeah,
They may be stockpiling it.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of screenplays out there just waiting.
I think there's going to be a break in the dam soon. Actors are used to getting paid, and everybody, plumbers are used to getting paid, and caterers are used to getting paid. There's going to be pressure for them to get back to work.
Not to mention the key grips.
That's
They're
right.
the best boys.
Yeah.
So the previews at the movie theater, there wasn't a lot that looked like great coming out. But what is it? Killers of the Flower Moon? That looks like it'll be pretty good.
Yeah.
It's been
Is that
coming
Leo?
out. Huh?
Is that Leo?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And De Niro and
That's a great story.
mhm.
As if I wasn't sure we all needed it, but there's a Rosemary's Baby. No, Exorcist 2 coming
Yeah.
out.
Who asked for that?
I don't know.
I thought there already was an Exorcist 2.
Yeah. So did I thought there was a sequel already.
2.5. There's a new one coming out.
I was living with Matson and Clayson when the first one came out, and I was afraid to be home with him, and I was afraid not to.
Any other recommendations while we're on that topic?
You probably have one or two, don't you?
No, I don't. I was busy working on this one and a couple of, I'm watching Lioness, which
Yeah.
is on Paramount Plus. It's kind of interesting. It's a series. Morgan, what's his name, Jeff?
Freeman, Morgan
Freeman.
Freeman.
Finally shows up in the thing. It was episode 6 this weekend out of
Yeah.
10, and he hadn't been in the first 5. And I was like, did Freeman get cut from this deal or what? I mean, but
They
he's there
showed him
now.
on the ads, but he was not around. But yeah,
Right. So anyway, that's what I've been watching. I'm going back to some that I didn't watch before. On Hulu, I'm watching one called Devs. Has anybody ever seen Devs before? DEVS. It stars Nick Offerman. And it's a story about developers who have developed an AI computer that can tell them the future. But it's very mysterious and it's out in the middle of the woods, and people that fuck with them they disappear. And so far it's so good, it's holding my attention. And I'm trying to think of what else I'm trying to get. I figure this is the time to, like Whitaker said, catch up, with all the series that you're on. I can't recall, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna bail out. I smell dinner.
Hey, so Terry's got the next pick, or is he going to be around?
Oh, good question.
Do you know, Chris?
Yeah, we do this.
I don't know what he's doing.
About to turn the corner.
So then it'll be Jeff.
Jeff Arthur, can you kick in?
Really?
You'll have 2 weeks to review it because we got Labor Day or whatever one it is.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Labor Day.
So, yeah, we'll make sure that Terry takes his turn.
Tell him we're meeting on Labor Day.
He'll know better.
All right,
He'll
folks.
know better.
I'm out, guys.
All right.
Thank
Labor
you.
Day's-
Thank you all.
Labor Day's in 2
Have a good
weeks.
week.
Everybody.
2
Take
weeks.
care.
Oh, right. Next week is Gary's. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.